Hi, this is Jamie with Stonemeyer Games. I'm back today to talk about one of my favorite gaming mechanisms. I'm going to focus on one game today. So today's game that I'm going to talk about is Fresco. Let's see, get that box up there. Yeah, so Fresco is a great game. It inspired the design of viticulture quite a bit. And the biggest way that it impacted viticulture is what I consider the best element of Fresco, which is the wake-up track. In a lot of games, you decide turn order in a lot of different ways. I would say in most games, you just decide turn order based on where you're sitting at the table, which is fine. Usually it works out fine. Other games might have an auction for that. Games do turn order in a lot of different ways. But Fresco does this wake-up track thing, which is really cool. So every year of the game, or every round of the game, players decide when they want their workers to wake up. So this is a worker placement game. My cat isn't quite cooperating with this video here. All right, but okay. So the wake-up track looks like this in Fresco. So in order based on your current victory points, players will each place one of their workers on one part of the wake-up track. So if I choose to go here on this row, we have my workers wake up the earliest, they're going to be unhappy, so I'm going to lose some morale, and that affects how many workers I can place that round, or it could affect that, not necessarily. And then in this last part, 4, if I go to the market that round, each paint tile that I buy, it's just something you buy in this game, costs 4 coins. Because you're the first at the market, everything's the most expensive then. But if you have your workers wake up much later down here, they're happier because they get to sleep in, and everything at the market only costs 1, but you have the last choice of things at the market, or anything else in the game. Like there aren't seasons in the game like there are in viticulture, but there are different stages of the game, and a few of them matter in terms of turn order. So if you wake up last, you get your last pick, but things are cheaper, your workers are happier. So there's this balance, and it kind of changes throughout the game on what's important to you at different times. And so I think Fresco did it really, really well. I'm going to show you what I did to use that same mechanism in viticulture, but mainly because I'm not trying to show off viticulture or Tuscany here. But I'm doing this because I think the wake-up track is something that's really, really cool. It's a great way to determine turn order every round in a game, and I'd like to see it in other games as well. So in viticulture, you have the wake-up track over here. Again, only one player can choose each row. If you choose the top row, 1, you don't get anything because you're waking up the earliest. You get the first choice of actions on each of the seasons. So like in the summer, you're the first player to place their first worker, then the next player places their worker, and so on. And you go down the track. Unlike the Fresco track, there is no penalty built into the track, like your workers aren't unhappy because they're waking up earlier and you don't have to pay more or anything like that. It just, you get better rewards if you wake up later. So on the late end of the spectrum, you might get a victory point or a visitor card, which is really helpful, or an extra worker for that year, which is really helpful in a game where you typically only start out with 3 workers. Now, I did take this a step further in Tuscany. This will be a little harder to show. And this is kind of a spoiler for Tuscany, but it's not a huge spoiler. When you unlock the extended board in Tuscany, it's one of the legacy unlocks in the game, you're presented with a much more elaborate wake-up track. And so in the spring of Tuscany, every player will choose their wake-up slot, again, their wake-up row. But nothing else will happen at that point. They don't gain anything. It isn't until you pass into the summer, so like when you're done placing workers in the summer, or if you don't want to place any workers at all there and you pass, that's when you gain the bonus for the summer. And then when you pass to the fall, you get another bonus. Or maybe you don't if you woke up really early, if you had your workers wake up early. So you're getting higher priority, but you're getting less stuff again. Or again, when you pass to the winter, you get something else. And I did something in this mechanism to prevent any player from only choosing first, because when you pass out of the winter, that's when you choose your spring wake-up time. So to prevent a player from just going first the entire game, the only way you can go first is if in the previous round you go last. See how that symbol matches up? And if you go last the previous round, you have to go first the next round. So you might get the best stuff this round, but you're forced to go first the next round, which is usually good. It's a good thing to go first. But if you go first this round, then the best you can do is choose to go second the following year. So in Tuscany, I saw, like in viticulture, players choose first almost always at certain points in the game, like later in the game when it gets really tight and you need some stuff. You almost always choose to wake up earlier. But in Tuscany, there's a much more, I wouldn't say complex decision, but a much more varied decision there as to when you have your workers wake up. So obviously I love this wake up mechanism. I'd love to see it in other games. I think these are two examples of ways that it could be incorporated, and Fresco obviously did it really well. It's an award-winning game. But I'd love to see it in other games. If you have any ideas in the comments that you'd like to express about how you think it could be used, I'd love to hear them. Thanks.